Hello and welcome back to Assetto Corsa EVO. Well, version 0.5 is here, and suffice to say this is perhaps not what I was expecting. It is an Assetto Corsa EVO patch in the same vein as the other patches that have been around. So there are 7 new cars, there are 2 new tracks. Driving Academy has been removed as they rework it. The career mode, which they announced a couple of weeks ago that they were scrapping in the current form and plans that they had. So XP, progression, money, all of that sort of stuff. That has now gone. So you load directly into open mode. And I'm not against that. I made an entire video about the positives and negatives of that announcement and how they did things. My personal opinion on what they should have done given the roadmap that they gave, or also my opinions on how I think this is actually going to turn out. And because of that, I was expecting more from this update, but nonetheless, it is here. As I said, 7 cars, 2 tracks. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at all 7 vehicles, but I'm not going to be driving them. I want to look at the customization of these 7 vehicles and see which ones are customizable in which way and how easy it is. Plus, I'll probably go over some of the changes that I can see in the changelog, but a lot of that is going to be a lot of the physics changes, for example, new launch control systems. These are sorts of things that I'll be testing over the coming videos when I'm taking cars out on track. So make sure you stay tuned. Let's get started. And let's take a look at how customizable these new 7 vehicles are. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I have already purchased all 7 vehicles, but I'm not going to purchased, customized and added to my cars. That is something I'm going to have to get used to saying. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the vehicle hub and take a look at each one in turn. And let's start with the one that I found has the absolute least in way of customization. And that is the Volkswagen Golf GTI Mark 1. Now, this is a pretty nice vehicle. Also, something that they have added is a hide user interface button, which is nice. One thing I want to try actually here is, do they have the free cam? So they've added free cam. I want to see if free cam works in here, and apparently it does not. Anyway, so we have this Volkswagen Golf GTI Mark 1. Lovely little vehicle, as you can see. We have 2 options, so let's say two trim types on it. So you have configurations and trim types. So 2 trim types. Black stripe or silver stripe, and that is just that stripe down the side. Everything else about this vehicle is quite basic, very detailed. I will say it is very, very highly detailed. One of the things that I'm still noticing is that the anti-aliasing appears to be a bit off. You can see the way parts flicker on sharper edges. I think they will improve that. But for now, it is still something that needs to be addressed. The rendering does look different. They have made some rendering changes. I'm not sure what the extent of the changes are, because it just says improved indirect rendering from cube map shadows, next DLSS version, which is version 4.5, and implemented decals MIP mapping. And that is something we'll be able to see on track. But it does look like the lighting has also changed somewhat. Anyway, let's have a quick look at configuring this. I'll try to keep this as quick a video as possible, because otherwise I could spend ages in this. So the only options we have is to be able to change the color of the car. Mars red, Senegal red. Senegal red actually looks quite nice. Mars red, I think, suits the trim of the grille a little better. But yes, we have that, and of course you have your custom finish. So if you want to, I don't know, paint the car in complete chrome, try and make it something bare metal or something, there you go. that you can do that, but that is not something I'm going to do in particular. There we go, Mars Red. And on the interior, the only thing you can do is change the seat fabric pattern, and that's it. Wheels are also stuck. You can change the color of them, but apart from that, you cannot change anything else. Let's just take a quick look inside the vehicle, just to have a look at what we have. So if I was to change that to red, you get to see the tartan pattern changes to red. Now it is, as I said, very well detailed, and we'll see it out on track when I take it out for a drive. But aside from that, there is not anything else that you can do with this vehicle. That is it. So outside color, trim pattern on, or the tartan pattern, and the color of the wheels. Not exactly a great amount. Now, the next vehicle I'm going to take a look at is going to be the Audi Quattro. So the Audi Sport Quattro, again, has a single configuration, but has 3 types of trims. Now, the only difference on the trims are the Audi rings. And this is, in my opinion, this one is a little weird, and I'll explain why. If we go to the single color one, and you'll see we have the Audi Sport Quattro writing at the back, the logo, and I suppose it's just the logo, isn't it? On the back, if we go ahead and press configure, and you look at the exterior, you have the body color, which again is just your standard body colors and your custom ones. And then you have the lettering color, which you can change to white or black. 2 standard options, which I'm not against. I'm not against those options at all. That seems perfectly all right. And then similarly, you have the options for the wheels. So not much in the way of customization on this car either. It sort of makes sense if you think about it. These 2 cars came out in the 80s. There would not be much in the way of factory customization. Honestly, I never noticed the word coupe down there. That's interesting. Yes, not much in the way of factory customizations. I completely get that. It would have been nice perhaps to have a couple of wheel options, but I think this is where modding of cars is going to come in. So when you've got your mod shops where you can add wings and change the intake parts and the engine parts and all of those things, exhausts, wheels, lighting, that I'm now thinking Need for Speed style. I'm sure this is not going to be quite as extensive and customizable as something like Need for Speed Carbon. If it was, that would be fantastic, because I think Need for Speed Carbon probably had the single best customization of vehicles that I've ever seen. Now I'm thinking about Midnight Club LA. That had a fairly good amount. Anyway, I'm getting distracted there. What I'm confused about on this one is if I discard that and we take Audi rings in black and configure that, and we go to lettering color, change that to white, surely it would have been smarter. You saw that stayed black. If I change that to that white there and press configure, go to lettering color and change that to black, that still stays white. I would have thought that there would have been a single version, single color, with an option in the configuration or the customization or just picking your optional extras that would have allowed you to put the Audi rings on, which would have then matched the lettering color. So if you change that to black, that becomes black. If you change that to white, that becomes white. That is what I thought would have happened. But that is the Audi. Speaking of Audis, they have had some updates to the RS3 and the RS6. I think this actually has a better all-wheel drive system now as well as I think something to do with braking. So they have improved that. Both of these have launch control, which has been improved too, but that is something for me to test at a later time. Let's have a look at the BMW. Now, in BMW land, we have the new M2 Coupe with two versions of it. Now, with the M2 Coupe, I am not a particular fan of this style. I think the lights are wrong. I think the kidneys are wrong. The sizes are wrong. Everything about the shape of this vehicle is wrong. Perhaps from the side profile it looks a little bit better. I would have had that a little bit lower, but just overall I find that this is just not very good in design. I'm sure in driving it's fine, and also the different size wheels is just really bad. And I know they have this on the M4, the M3, the M2. It's just really bad. There are two variants to this car, so let's have a very quick look at these. So the standard variant is this, and it is very, very well detailed. As you can even see the very light scoring marks on the brake discs. The Michelin Pilot Sport 4. Pilot Sport 4s? This one would be Pilot Sport Cup. No, it's Pilot Sport 4s. Okay. Or Pilot Sport 5s. But these are 4s. Very, very highly detailed. It does look very, very good. Now, if we have a look at the exterior, this is where I think this one is probably the most disappointing of the vehicles that we have. And the reason for that is that BMW pride themselves on options. Being able to customize your car. Now, I'm saying customize, not modify, because modify, I class modding cars as something you do after you have purchased the car that is not factory, or not, I will not say not factory approved, but not factory standard. So this is not an option you can tick out of the box from the factory that comes from BMW or Ford or anything like that, from Volkswagen, whichever brand you have. So yes, if you were to get some tuning packs that are from the factory, it is a customization, not... In some senses, it might be a modification if it is third party. So in case of BMW, an Akropovich exhaust, I think that is how you pronounce that, the Akropovich exhausts. If you get one of those, then yes, I would probably class that as a third-party exhaust modification. So yes, we have that. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. The reason I'm pointing this out is because the BMW only has body colour, which it does have some weird ones. These ones that say frozen are like this satin wrap sort of colour. Not something that I particularly would have on a car, but there we go. But it does have the normal gloss, and this blue does look pretty good. This purple, I have seen M2s in this colour before, so there we go. So we just have that, and the brake caliper colour, which is just red or custom. Interior wise, it is just the ambient lights colour. You cannot even change that trim colour. I would have expected that these trims can be selected to be a single colour. I know it is the M colours, the blue, white and the red, but I would have expected to be able to change those trim colours, and all you can actually change is that, see that ambient light there? So if I was to change that to red, you see that change to red. That is all you can change. And that is, I will say that one is quite disappointing. Wheels-wise, we have the option of having a solid colour or bi-colour wheel, absolutely fine, or we can have the M Performance forged Y-spoke wheels, which is, again, fine with the wheel colours. I'm not too fussed with the wheels. It is more so, although I guess BMW would offer some more wheels, it's more so that there is very limited customization on this car. Now, if we go over to the M Performance variant, there is more. This is a bit over the top, in my opinion, but there are more customization. So again, you have the body color and the brake caliper color. Not going to go over that. You do have badging in black, which just changes that. Not something I would do, but maybe if you had a silver car, maybe that would look fairly good. I do not know. Those are your only options on the exterior there, but there are some parts that you can change. So, for example, if you do not want this weird exhaust layout, you could go for this exhaust layout, and that is a nice option. If you do not wish to have this wing, you can go for a spoiler instead, one of those duckbill spoilers. So that is up to you. And inside as well, if we take a quick look inside, you can change, if I just do that, you can change the M Performance interior trim, which I do not see. I'm trying to figure out what the difference is here. There does not appear to be. I'm not able to see a difference. And the steering wheel, of which there is a difference because there is some Alcantara there, and the centre marking. And that is about it. So there really is not much. Again, inside, just the ambient light and the wheels are exactly the same. It is odd because BMW, I know BMW have a lot of options when it comes to customizing your vehicle. That is one thing that I do appreciate about things like BMW, companies like BMW, even if I'm not so sure about their vehicle direction. At the moment, anyway. I would have preferred the older M2. The Gen 1, Gen 2 M2, I think would have been great. This one is not. This one is not my particular cup of tea. It might be yours, but it is not. It is not mine. Anyway, moving on from there, let's have a look at the next vehicle that we have. So that is the Caterham. Now, with the Caterham, the Academy had many options when it came to tuning it or customizing it. This car also has many options. Caterhams are basically build-it-yourself Lotus 7 kits. Buy a Lotus 7, build it yourself, DIY kit. Do it in a shed, build it in a shed, get it running. So there are a couple of configurations that you have available. Or sorry, we have 3 variants of this, but still the same configuration. So we have the road variant, we have the track variant, and the final edition variant. Now, if I just take a look at, let's just pick the triple stripe design for the trim on the road variant. It is yes, I guess it would be a configuration. It is strange that I cannot click on this and change just to filter out a configuration. That would have been quite nice. And then if we have a look at configuring this, I'm not going to go through every single one, but there are plenty of options here. So very quickly go through the exterior. Body and stripe color. Let's go Golf. There we go. We now have a Golf livery for our vehicle. That was quite easy. If I want to change these headlamp bulbs in and have them blue, I can do that. If I want to change the front wings, I can do that. If I want to paint the number 7 on the front grille, I can do that. This is the kind of thing that I like to see. Lettering colour, want that black, I can do that. Do I want to paint the roll bar in the blue? Sure, I can do that. That looks a bit silly. In fact, it looks quite good in orange, so I'm going to leave it like that, even though I'm not going to buy this. We even have the engine cover. Now, I had to look this one up, but if you take the front of this off, there we go, then you can change that, the cover of the engine, to the same colour as the body. I'm not sure if that's useful. I would not do that personally, but it is something that you can do. The engine head cover can be changed. Aero filler cap colour is that one there. Just simple things, which I do appreciate. So this has a lot of customization. Clear lens pack. It changes the indicators to clear indicators, which look very odd on a Caterham, I will admit. So I just do that. Interior wise as well, there are quite a few options, as you can see. So you could change the contrast stitching color. Let's have that as orange, for example. There you go. So you can see that that has changed. You can change the tunnel top leather color, which is this bit here. So I want that to be, I don't know, biscuit color. That's going to look terrible. Beechwood. That might look all right. Need something very dark. Yes, this dark brown, peat. That will do. Gator leather color. So that's that bit there. I could change that however I want it to be. It is really quite nice. In fact, if I change this to something like British Racing Green, I think the browns are going to look fantastic in it. And I do appreciate all of this that they have. Seats in modern leather. Do you want a modern leather seat? Click it. Switch it on and there we go. Now you have modern leather and you can change the colour of the modern leather. That is the sort of detail that I was looking for. Do you want the hex seats? You can have those if you want. And some of these are available in the other designs. Do you want the golf tartan seats? You can have those, although you cannot colour those. Do you want side panels in fine leather? It is just very, very customisable. I'm not going to go through all of this, although I do want to see the dashboard in the wood effect. It's a shame that you cannot change that from, looks a bit mahogany, doesn't it? Might be walnut, but it looks a bit mahogany. It's changing that instead of wood effect to maybe have a different kind of wood. That would have been nice. You only have one type of wheel, but also you have all of this exterior. So do you want the 620 nose cone? Has a little extra intake at the bottom or grille at the bottom. Do you want a carbon fibre aero screen to make a Roadster? I personally would not. Do you wish to... Oh dear, I've got rid of everything. Full windows and side screens, there we go. Do you wish to have LED lights? This is just strange for me. Seeing this on a Caterham is strange. Do you want a rear exit exhaust? This I find funny because you have a rear exit exhaust there, but it still goes down the side. I do find that quite amusing because if you just get rid of it, it just has the exhaust right there. There's just more pipe to go through. Do you want carbon fibre seats? Do you want a track day roll bar? Do you want a race roll cage? So you could customize this how you want. And I think that is really, really good. And this is available for most of the versions. I think the final version, you cannot change the colour of the stripes, which is odd. I would have thought you would have been able to maybe change that to white. But unfortunately, you cannot. So that is the Caterham. How many cars do I have left? 2, 3. Next up, we have the Dallara. The EXP. Now, I do not know much about this vehicle at all. What I do know is that there is very little customization available here. So you have these 3 designs, 3 trims. So one with Dallara written down the side where you can barely see it. Although I guess if I were to change the colour, you'd be able to see it a little bit. No, not that well. There you go. That is better. So you see that design. It looks, I'll be honest, the design is far too busy for my preference. So you have that. Wheels, again, you can just change the colour of the wheels. Discard that. Design 3 is with a number. This is odd because I'm assuming you will be able to change the number, but at the moment, it is not something you can do. But that is what I'm assuming they are going to be going for. It's a weird barcode up there. I have no idea what that barcode reads, but that is a decent design. My particular preference, though, is design 2. It is simple with some sort of, it's not quite a pinstripe, but it is close enough. And one of the things that I will give this car, it's lots of carbon fibre, is this colour, chocolate. I just call this colour chocolate. It is a very, very nice colour. Both these colours, actually, are very nice. This is more of a red In fact, it does say Rosso. But this is more brown, chocolate brown. And then I can do that and then change the wheel color to gold. And that looks quite good. There is also the badging color on the front, which you can change to silver to make it stand out against dark colors. So that is the Dallara. I think having numbers available would be nice, but I cannot see much to really customize here. Seat color? Perhaps you could customize the seats color, maybe this trim around the bucket, so just that all of that perhaps could be changed in color as well, maybe to either match the car or have a completely different offset. That would look interesting in gold to match the wheels. So that is that car. Porsches generally have quite a lot of customization. So we do have the new Porsche here, which is the RS GT3 RS 992 model. Interesting. There we go. That is now up. Now this vehicle has the two variants. So we have the I do not know how to pronounce that. I'm going to say the Weissach pack, maybe something like that. But these are the two variants that we have, and they both have slight differences to what you can and cannot configure. But let's have a quick look. So you've got the body color, which let me just paint in ice grey metallic. Sure, why not? Then you have the front lid and roof in exterior color. I have there we go. So that is just the roof makes sense. This is something I was expecting with BMW, to be able to change the roof to match the color of the body. But that is apparently not available. I'm sure BMW actually offer that. So it just makes that much, I'd say more subtle. Although, in all honesty, with the size of those intakes, I'm not sure. That's not an intake, is it? Those are exhausts. I have no idea how subtle you could be, but there we go. Then we have brake caliper color, which is quite standard. In this car, I think black would look better with the red wheels. The accent package color, which is that there. So I think you can, on the standard car, you can only change this. No, you can have all of these colors on the standard car. I'll be honest, this I'm not particularly keen on. This looks nice at the back, but the way it is designed here is not, I'd say that's far from ideal. Then you could delete it if you wanted. Goodbye, but I would have preferred that it would be available there. And then you have the exclusive design taillights, which is just gets rid of the red. That to me is quite strange. I prefer the red, although I really do not. I'm not a fan of these massive center lights. Just leave them on the side. There we go. So that is what we have on the exterior. On the interior, there is a bit more. Let's have a quick look at the part. So a lot of that is for the interior. So we'll have a quick look inside. Switch view, there we go. And so, for example, let me say I wanted to make this interior quite yellow instead of red. So I could do that. So I can go over to this and say stitching contrast color. I could have as God's Red or GT Silver or decorative stitching contrast color. Switch that on. There we go. That changes all of that to what I want it to be. So, for example, this speed yellow. I do prefer that. I think that looks a bit nicer. So we'll do that. If this was a red car with the yellow interior and yellow brake calipers, I think that would look quite nice. Change that loop color. So this is the sort of customization I was expecting again on the BMW. Change those to yellow as well. Tack I can have in red, which no, that just makes it seem like it's in danger all the time. Color 2, That makes it look more like a 90s Ferrari, so perhaps not, or early 2000s Ferrari. And I can do the same with the chronometer. Oops, switch that on. Actually, that is not too bad. Although I think the white, no, I think I'll switch that off. Just sticking with the grey is fine. I've switched something else on. Steering wheel and leather finish, that is quite nice, so that's pretty good. Race Tech package, I have no idea what this is, the Race Tech package. I think it is on the heads-up display. So I'll have to look into that maybe when we drive the car. And then we have the decorative stitching. And of course we have the different parts. So get rid of the fire extinguisher if I want. Get rid of... So we have the roll cage and visible carbon. Get rid of that. And if you had the standard version, you could do some changes to the wheel and bits on the side and things like that. So that is the Porsche, which is not bad. I would say that is not that bad at all, although maybe a couple more variants on the exterior would have been nice, or a couple more options would have been nice on the exterior. And then finally, we have the Toyota Sprinter. And the Toyota Sprinter is basically the AE86 Truno, the Corolla. There are multiple variants of this, or multiple trims of this, with 4 variants. So you have the Zenki variant, which is this one. You have the Koki variant, which has this, you can quite easily see the difference right there. You have the Koki Hysonic variant, which is just a color change. Everything else is fine, or everything else is the same. You then have the Black Limited Edition, which has a rear spoiler. This one actually looks quite good, and it has a look at the exhaust size as well. This actually looks really quite good. And then, of course, you have Fujiwara Tofu Shop, which is from Initial D, so you've got the anime tribute. I have added all of these to my collection because I want to test the difference between these. But if we go and take, let's take the Hysonic one, because that's one I've not added. And let me go to configure. Let's have a look at what is available here. Now, Toyota sometimes have quite a lot of options on their vehicles, especially in the 80s and 90s, because there was a lot of customizability in those vehicles. So this one should have a lot. So you've got the 2 segments that you could change as you... So I could invert this if I wanted. I think it looks better in the other way. There we go. With the custom bit. Brand script color, I assume, is going to be that. Yep. So if you have a dark color up there, that is what that's going to be. I think they need to consolidate their various names and say, here, logo color, text color or something. Because these are different on different vehicles, even though they mean the same thing. So they need to look at that. We have a few options for the wheels. So you have the snowflake wheel that you see on that Black Edition car. I cannot remember the name already. You've got the Intra wheels and the Watanabe wheels, single tone or dual tone. So there we go. That is there. And then you have a bunch of parts. Would you like the sports rear spoiler, a duckbill spoiler? Would you like a front splitter? Would you like some side skirts from GT Apex? Would you like some mudguards? Single mudguards, or would you like double mudguards? Would you like them on the front as well? Would you like the fog lights? Do you want the sports exhaust? And then you've got the Koki facelift. On the interior, in fact, before we get to the interior, do you want a suspension tune? You'll see the car is now lowered. Do you want a different gearbox? Do you want a spool differential or an LSD? I'm not sure what that does. Gearbox stack. No idea. Would you like actually, if I take the front of this, if I open up the bonnet, will this actually look different? And I might actually change the time of day so I can perhaps see this a little better. There we go. Lighting has definitely changed. Let's see, what do we have? The blacktop engine, which is that one. 16-valve stock engine, the 4AG, or the 16-valve tuned engine. So the tuned engine, stock engine, both look the same. Blacktop engine, 20-valve one is, of course, different. So they have that. Do you want that? Oh, can I get the lights to pop up? I can. Lovely. Oh, now they won't go down. Uh-oh. Ah, there we go. Do that. The one thing I will point out is that these are flashing like LEDs. That does need to be changed. But yes, we have all of these options. And then if we finish this video off by popping inside, you've got the Admiral steering wheel, if you want. That's actually really nice. Oh, that is a really nice steering wheel. Do you want the Toyota Racing Dynamics instrument cluster, TRD cluster, which, as you can see, just revs up much higher, much faster? Do you want the RS sport seats, which actually do not look that different at all? It's a very basic car. I remember I had a Toyota when I was little. This was the switchgear. This literally was not for the lights. The lights were on stalks. The indicators are on the right side from what I know. But all of this switchgear is very, very familiar. So that is really quite nice. But yes, plenty of options here. Perhaps not as many with maybe doing some additional tuning, but I think that is going to be for mod shops again. So you add different wings and stuff. This is just what you would get from Toyota. And that brings us quite nicely to the end of this video. So what I'm going to do is, let's discard that. Let's do that. And I will just pop up one of the cars that I have configured. So I think I've configured... There we go. That's one. And I'll just have that selected and end the video there. So that is a look at the customization. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to click on the like button if you like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos on Assetto Corsa EVO. In the next video, I'm probably going to take out the Dallara, this Caterham, and maybe, if I get a chance to take out a third car, maybe the Audi Quattro. Audi Sport Quattro. I'll take those three out. The Audi Quattro I want to test because I remember driving it in Assetto Corsa and it was really bad. I just could not get on with it. So I want to see if I can get on with it better in Assetto Corsa EVO. But in that, I'll probably be trying out the launch control. I'm assuming the Dallara EXP has launch control. I'll be trying out some of the handling, see if there are force feedback changes, anything like that, as well as seeing if there are performance improvements. And for example, the decal mip maps, does that mean that I can see things in the distance a little bit better? And taking a look at the free cam. So make sure you stay tuned for that over the coming videos, and then I have a couple of other videos planned after that. If you wish to do so, you can check out my social media and Discord server and Patreon. Link to all of them are in the description box below. I am going to point out the rear exhaust here. I tried to change it on the final edition. It does not let me do that, which is a bit of a shame. But there we go. So yes, do go check those out if you wish to do so. If not, that is perfectly all right. I can see a slight bug just there. There was a slight bug with some textures and just there. So it looks like there are some texture lighting issues, but I'm sure those will be fixed fairly soon. Thank you very much for watching once again, and I will see you next time in Assetto Corsa EVO.